There are over 5,400 mammals on Earth, each with their own unique way of finding, selecting, and maintaining a suitable mate. Some complex, some simple. Today, we are diving into 4 different animals, each with its own extreme courtship behaviors. The question is, do these behaviors tie into humans as well, creating a sort of universal mating habit? Or are these behaviors unique to only those animals? To start off, the Canada goose, a magnificent bird. Each year, it can travel over 1,000 kilometers to a suitable mating ground. Canada geese are monogamous. This means that they only mate with one animal. They also mate for life. Once these animals are old enough to mate, the male goes out of its flock to find a female. Once he finds the desired female, he'll try to woo her by bobbing its head up and down while he approaches her. If the female returns this action, it means he has accepted him and will follow him around everywhere as she believes he is a suitable mate to protect her and her young. If one of the partners were to succumb to its death, the other partner will mourn for its mate by separating itself from the flock and calling out in a sorrowful way. The goose will typically mourn for 1 to 2 years before finding another spouse. Next, a certain penguin native to the Antarctic islands. It is called the Gentoo penguin, and it has a peculiar courtship ritual. The male penguin will find a rock he deems perfect enough to give to the female of his choice. If the female accepts this rock, both penguins will point with their bills to the nest the female has been building to signify that she has accepted him as a mate. Another behavior the male has is to point his head to the sky and trumpet to the females. This call will attract a female and further strengthens the chance of him finding a mate. The gray wolf, one of nature's smartest, strongest, and most loyal apex predators. In a wolf pack, the alpha male and alpha female are typically the only ones to mate. The bond between these two animals is near comparable to the strength of most humans. These two wolves will often snuggle each other while walking and laying down. The persistence of these actions will strengthen as mating season comes around. They are jealous animals and will not let another wolf get between them at this time of the year. Once the mating season comes to an end, the wolves will run miles to get to their den in order to prepare it for their young. They'll clean out any debris, even though it won't be used for 2 months yet. Gray wolves are extremely loyal to their partners, and often struggle to regain the same strength of connection with a new mate if their old one dies. For example, once the alpha male was shot in a pack. After this, the alpha female secluded herself from the pack and stayed by herself for the next year or so. She was unsuccessful at hunting by herself and eventually starved to death by her own choice. Another example is when the alpha female died in a pack. The alpha male made a couple trips back to the site where his partner died over the next few months, running much faster than the rest of his pack in an obsessive manner almost, sometimes having a 1 to 2 mile gap between him and the other wolves, which is unusual as the wolves almost always travel together. Even when he met up with another female, he didn't share the same connection as he did with his old mate. Finally, the bald eagle. Every year, they separate during winter months and come back in the spring to raise new young. After seeing each other for the first time in months, they can call out to each other and reconnect by calling in unison. The eagles will build the nest together and prepare it for their young. The two birds have near uncompared trust when it comes to mating. The male will gently land on the female's back. All the while, the female trusts the male not to pierce her back with his razor-sharp talons. The most noteworthy courtship behavior shared between the two is the dazzling display of aerial maneuvers. The two eagles will fly high into the area before circling each other and eventually locking talons and free-falling while somersaulting over each other. This act is one of the most extravagant shows portrayed by animals for the purpose of courtship. Now, humans also have many unique and special courtship behaviors. But are they comparable to nature's courtship? Or are we a little more complex? Canada geese bob their heads in unison when approaching and choosing a mate, as well as follow each other around. If a man were to approach a woman with his head bobbing up and down, it probably would not end very well. However, humans do tend to mirror each other's actions when they like that person. For example, hand resting positions are commonly mirrored. Also, humans that like other humans often follow them around, similar to Canada geese. Canada geese will mourn their lost partner for 1 to 2 years before going back out in the field, both literally and figuratively, to find a new mate. When a human is widowed, most people typically wait 2 to 5 years or more before finding another spouse as well. However, this number can vary heavily depending on the person. The actions of the Gentoo penguin reflect as well as an even more clear example. Gentoo penguins bring a rock to the desired female. This is an act of courtship, and the female accepts the gift, and the pair are bonded up for 3 breeding seasons, which is about 3 years. Although the majority of humans will stay together longer in serious relationships, the example still ties over, as it typically is the man who proposes to the female with a rock. In other words, a ring to tie the relationship. If the female penguin accepts, they both point their bills to the nest, and this would be the equivalent of humans planning on where to raise their young, like buying a house. As for the trumpeting, if a man were to go out in public, tilt his head up and start honking, it probably wouldn't attract most women. However, when translating this action over, it could be seen as a man verbally flattering a woman, and if the woman accepts the compliment, she may become more interested in the man. Gray wolves are very emotional creatures, just like humans. The wolves will snuggle up to each other and seek out physical contact with their mate in non-sexual ways year-round. This could be the same as human contact in a loving way, for example, hand-holding and cuddling. Also, after conceiving, the wolves will go out of their den to prepare for their young. This is the same in humans as it would be the equivalent of baby-proofing a house to protect their young and make it easier for them to raise them. When a wolf loses its mate, it may never find a new mate. It could mourn their spouse for the rest of their life in extreme cases. This characteristic is also in some humans, as many widows and widowers never remarry and will mourn their mate for life. Bald eagles. The trust in bald eagle makes mates near incomparable, as they are able to trust each other with their life. The female accepts the male on her back, trusting he won't crush her spine with his talons. With humans, strong relationships mean that they are able to trust each other with their life, and won't backstab each other. Bald eagle pairs are separated for long periods of time, but are able to reconnect after many months, and have the same relationship again. Humans are able to do this too. A prime example would be a soldier in war who is far away for a long time and comes back from war. If the relationship is strong, they'll reunite and love each other again. When eagles are building their nest, they build it together. Most of the time, when 2 people are in love, they want to start a family. They'll build a house together and raise their children. And in both cases, one day their children will leave the nest. And them's the facts. Although human relationships can be quite complex and quite delicate, the simple ways of nature still apply to us. Although they do not apply quite literally, we humans still do the same things as many of the animals around us when choosing and maintaining a suitable mate for life.